guys don't get this. Like, do you understand?
Welcome to Fight for Life, a pro-life radio show discussing the ministry of First Choice Pregnancy Services here in Las Vegas. I'm Deborah, board member and executive director of First Choice Pregnancy Services.
And I'm Jessica, logistics specialist at First Choice Pregnancy Services.
We are ambassadors for the unborn.
Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, friends. Happy New Year. This is our first broadcast of the year. Thanks for joining us today. This is Deb and Jess. We are ambassadors on behalf of the babies, here to share the real life stories in the fight for the unborn.
Happy New Year, everyone. This is Jess. I'm going to be giving you that weekly update. From December 27th of 2023 through January 4th of 2024, First Choice has provided 70 free pregnancy tests and 40 free ultrasounds to the women in our community. And that was even a shortened week because we were celebrating the holidays. So
Closed Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Amen. That was well-needed time off.
Yes.
So if you'd like to join this conversation, be sure to call into the radio station at 702-650-5588. We would love to hear from you. And if you're joining us live on social media, you can interact with us, and we will take your questions at the end of the broadcast. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube at FCPS Friends, or on Instagram and Twitter or X at FCPS_friends. You can learn more about our ministry, or you can give a donation, which we would love, at fcpsfriends.org. Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year 2024.
You gotta hold. Well, we are off to the races here in the new year. It's an exciting time to be alive and serving God, and it's also a challenging time.
You can feel the waters being warmed up hotter and hotter and hotter, and we're the toads in the pot.
Yeah. And so it's exciting to see what God brought us through this last year and the amazing impact that we were able to make in the kingdom of God's, and to see all the babies that we saved last year. And it's exciting to see where God is taking us in this new year.
Yeah.
He's definitely been preparing us for new seasons. And we're just prayerful that those seasons will be great, which we know they will.
And I just think, each year, I'm 42 now, each year that passes by, and here it's another new year. And how God has allowed us to see this new year. And He's allowed us to be able to serve Him on the crossroads for women that are in a crisis pregnancy, and to share the gospel of Christ with them. And what an honor it is that He's allowed us to be a part of that. And it's so humbling. But Deb, what exactly does that mean when we say we're at the crossroads for these women between hope and despair?
I mean, you could probably put that into a much nicer, wordy thing than I can. But the short and skinny of it. Wow. I mean, we could tell you stories for days. I actually was given a tour through our center yesterday, and I said, if people could only hear a small fraction of the stories that these counseling room walls hold, like, people's minds would be blown.
So we're here to be your flies on the wall, reporting back to you. What happens?
You have so many women come here to Las Vegas, or that live here in Las Vegas, that are at the lowest points of their life, and they think that murdering their child is the only option for them right now. That's despair. Hitting the rock bottom, where you don't feel that there are any other alternatives out there to help you make a decision for life and for your own child, or to even give you, to even have the fight in you to fight for your child. And by the grace of God, we're so honored and privileged that He sends them through our doors, and we are able to impart to them the hope of Christ, and all the hope that is out there in their situation that they don't see on the other side. because they only see it from the viewpoint of despair. And
So today we're going to be bringing you tons of stories because we've been off the air for a couple
We're
of
really
weeks.
going to be running with Crossroads this year, folks.
Yeah.
Because really we are at the crossroads, and there is such a huge change taking place in the movement right now. Interestingly enough, this morning I had a pregnancy center, a lady from New York reach out to me. And they are trying to get ahead of some election stuff coming, and
Oh my.
called because they heard that we use graphic imagery. And they wanted to know where we're getting this stuff and where they could order it, because they're challenged to find that type of content. And they're wanting
Interesting.
to go knocking door to door
Yes.
in Albany, because they said there's quite a few conservatives within that area, that they're hoping to motivate by going and sharing with them the reality of what abortion is. And so they're really going to take the truth to Albany, New York. And so it was interesting that they heard about little old us out here in Vegas calling in the cavalry. And this lady said to me, she said, do you have any other people that are like you that are doing this, that maybe we could get on a monthly like Zoom or something together on?
Oh.
And I told her, you know what? It's a great idea. If we could find people across the state that are willing to put it out there for truth, that would be a great way to motivate and inspire each other while you're out doing the hard work.
Just out of curiosity, how did they hear about us and what we're doing?
They heard about us from somebody else in the pro-life movement that was familiar with us.
Oh, okay.
And they said, you know what, there's this one place that you should call and talk to. And the person that told them about us doesn't even live in Vegas. You should call and talk to this center. They use graphic imagery and they're very effective with it. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I was also texting with Seth Gruber yesterday.
He's a pro-life advocate and
yeah, he was at our
extreme
banquet.
activist. He's awesome.
He was at our banquet 2 years ago, I guess. And if you guys don't follow him, he's an awesome activist. But he was just telling me like just about First Choice and how First Choice was really unlike many pregnancy centers out there. He said, you're the only one in the country I know of that's using graphic imagery the way you do. And so there is that fraction, and he just said, stand on truth, Deb. So there is that fraction of the movement that I do feel is awakening. I had another pastor that just called me. I just hung up with them 20 minutes ago. He has a radio show actually here on KKVV, and he stopped in First Choice Tuesday night, and he said, I didn't know why God just dropped you guys like in my mind. And I was like, well, I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but he put it into his maps, and his map said he was only 13 minutes away. And so he decided to come. He said, I don't know why. And he had some money in his pocket that he was going to go put in the bank, and he told his wife he wasn't sure why, what God wanted him to do with it. And he said then he came into First Choice and he took a tour, and he said, God just told me to sow it into you guys. And he said, I don't really know like why. And I said, I'm going to tell you why. And I gave him a little bit of background on some of the stuff going on at First Choice right now. And I said, God sent you in our doors, specifically confirmation for me.
Yeah.
And he was like, so we got into a conversation for quite a while. He wants us to come and do a presentation at his church with graphic imagery. He said, I used to be a youth pastor. And he said, these kids, the parents thought, hey, my little good kid. And he said, that's not the kid I know. And he said, I had to go and I had to tell those parents, like, your kid is doing this. He's not the little good kid that you think he is. And so he's like, teenagers, they need to see this. And so he's working out details of putting a presentation together. But he was also talking about just how a decade ago, people told him, you and your wife, pastor, you guys shouldn't like share these stories about what you guys have been through. And he just said, stand on truth. He said, all that they're going to do a marriage conference now. And he said, it's a lot of the people that would say, don't do this, are showing up because they're the ones to benefit from what we've shared. And so, so I don't know. God is at work in all of this. It's exciting new year, and it's exciting to see how he's moved different people into First Choice and into the movement to be more active. We had Spider-Man, pro-life Spider-Man, down at First Choice yesterday for a couple of hours, and he's a young guy out there.
He's a breath of fresh air and just brings a totally different perspective, but he is on fire for this mission.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a young guy that loves Jesus and loves life. That he sits there scaling these skyscrapers without any harnesses or anything. Like, he literally could slip and fall to his death. And so it's just been an interesting one day actually of conversations with different people, and just to see how the pro-life thing is coming alive here in 2024.
But even as we were coming over here, we were having a conversation, you and I, about pastors and churches and our patients and how they all unite. And we had a text come over one of our work phones that was reaching out to one of our volunteers at First Choice and just thanking her profusely for reaching out to her and being strength and a comfort to her in one of the darkest times of her life. And I passed that message on to the volunteer, and she was very humbled by it and appreciative that she got that message. But when we looked into it a little bit deeper, that particular patient who was post-abortive and has been coming to us for 8 years now as a patient, and has 2 living children, 1 miscarriage, and is expecting another one, but has chose life for 3 of her babies. As a result of her coming to First Choice first, she goes to one of our churches here locally, and
a well-known church in this community.
A very well-known church who doesn't happen to be supporting us at the moment, but it can be frustrating because we're like, pastors, your people, your women are in our center, and you need to know that because we are serving them together, and we should be partnered. We should be united and have a united front on this issue.
So we're going to pray that God raises up more pastors this year that will step into the authority God has given them to speak on this thing and to be the leaders that he has called them to be.
And maybe
you're a shepherd. You need to shepherd your sheep.
May be done through using graphic imagery and speaking the truth. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and you can save a lot of your breath by just showing an image. Amen. You want to share a little bit about this story right here? That was an exciting story that Eve shared with us a couple days ago.
I don't know what this one is because I haven't read it. So I'm gonna let you share. Oh, the Cuba story.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There was a young woman that walked in First Choice. I think it was Monday because I got the text with the story, and I actually had called down to First Choice and was talking to Eve, and Louise was the stenographer, and so Eve was telling me the story, and then Louise piped in and was like so excited about it. We get quite a few women that have just arrived from Cuba. Cuban and Venezuelan women particularly are some of the hardest women to really try and win over to see the positives in choosing life for their children. A lot of them are post-abortive multiple times, and they're just incredibly they're some of the toughest nuts to crack, if I could use that analogy. So we had this woman come in, and she had come to America in this past year, has a husband, has a child, is living with a family, and just said, I can't bring another child into this family's home. Didn't feel like it was right. Didn't feel that it was the best time to have this child. And so I believe she had already had 2 abortions last year. So this would have been her 3rd abortion. And so she got back to sonography and was still really hard. And they were able to just pick up a really light heartbeat on the baby. It was about 6 weeks. And the lady still didn't seem very moved. But Louise asked her, what would you want your child to do if she wanted an abortion? What would you say to her? And God used that question to really penetrate the hardness of her heart. And she looked at him and she said, well, I wouldn't want her to do that. And they said, well, why? Like, what'd you tell? Well, I'd tell her I'd support her. Like, she didn't need to do that. And so they said, well, just like you don't want her to do that and you would support her to keep her from doing that, there are so many other people that are happy to support you and helping you not do that. Those people that you live with would probably be happy to support you instead of you making that choice. And they just really had a really great conversation with her that she ended up leaving. I believe she's going to choose life. She's coming back in another week or 2 with her husband, who he actually didn't want her to abort, but she was just determined she was going to do it again. And then we had another young woman. I think she was Venezuela or Cuban as well. That was a dentist in one of the South American countries. I don't remember which country it was. But she came to America, fell in love with this guy last year, and she ended up going to her prenatal appointment. And the doctor told her she had chlamydia. And so he gave her the prescription for the medication, and she didn't know what that was. And so she left and came back to her next appointment and asked him, hey, what is that? Is that like a yeast infection, or what is that? And he said, no, it's a sexually transmitted disease. Like, you've got that from sexual activity. And so she was shocked. So she went and confronted the guy, and the guy told her, he just totally projected it back on her and told her that she had been unfaithful to him, and he wanted nothing to do with that baby, and he didn't want to talk about it. And so she went from knowing she was having a baby girl to coming into First Choice at 21 weeks pregnant to abort that baby girl. And, the ladies were able to pray with her, and she ended up totally transforming her whole perspective in her life. She said, I need to get in church. She prayed with Lynn, said she was going to start following Jesus, and they just had a great conversation with her. She left in a much different manner than what she came in, just her countenance, choosing life for her daughter, and having some women there to just support and encourage her to do the right thing. Those are just 2 stories. Yeah. Jess has a whole list of stories for you guys.
We do. We're just incredibly appreciative, even of the pastors and the churches that have come alongside us and supporting us, because they know that when they do that, they're not only saving lives, but they're saving souls as well. We share the gospel with each and every woman that comes in, if she will allow it. And so this next story that I'm going to share with you is exactly that. There was a woman in her 30s, and she hadn't had any children yet. And when she got to First Choice, she was there for an abortion. She wanted abortion information. She had completely opened up to her advocate in that counseling room. So she had just totally poured her heart out, as it was explained to me, and that she was a professing Christian, and that she was church hurt, and her parents abandoned her when she decided to seek out comfort in a homosexual relationship. And then she completely got her heart broken when her partner then went out on her and cheated on her. So she kind of got back at her by having a one-night stand, and that one-night stand she ended up pregnant. So she came to us wanting a abortion pill. But when we got her back to ultrasound, which she did stay for, she was almost 4 months pregnant. She was over 3 months pregnant, and so that didn't qualify her to be able to have an abortion pill. Her sonographer ended up sending her back to the counseling side and having her sit down and watch Choice Blues, which is a very graphic video that we show for educational purposes, of course, with the patient's permission. And it shows them in great detail what an abortion is.
It's
and how
actual abortion taking place.
Yes, it's actual abortion taking place. And so even after watching that, she says, I'm still unsure how I want to move forward. But she got to take all of that information. Lynn did, who was her advocate, she did say, can I just pray with you? And so she did pray with her. She did share her testimony of salvation. And so it just, when we go in there and we can share Christ with them, sometimes even if they have already accepted Christ and maybe walked away from the Lord, it's another opportunity to give that gentle touch of Christ and be the light and kind of help redirect them back to Christ, because we do walk away sometimes. Not all of us have a perfect life that we live out, but there are times where we do walk away, and we need that, as I put it to Lynn this morning, the spike strip laid out in our journey that gets a hold of our life and redirects us back to Christ. And as I was even explaining it to my kids while we were on a road trip this last week, we have the opportunity to be in the will of God. And when we're in the will of God, things can go pretty smoothly. We're inside the car as we're going down on this journey. But if we decide to get out of the will of God, we're still going to go on the journey, but he's going to drag us through the gravel to get us back in his will.
We have a cool story to share with you. ICLV is an awesome partner with First Choice.
Yeah.
And we had an abortion walk-in from Florida. She was 19 weeks pregnant, like the beginning part of September. The following day, we had an abortion walk-in from Arizona. She was 20 weeks pregnant. The Florida girl is having a boy, and the Arizona girl is having a girl. And we've kept in contact with this young couple, and ICLV just did a virtual baby shower for this couple, and it was incredible. They did it over Zoom. They sent her all of the gifts via Amazon and told her, don't open them. And so they shared with us some pictures that they had taken. They had their fellowship hall, they had it decorated for a baby shower, and they had this couple on Zoom, and they had them open up their gifts there at the party. Yeah. And it was just an incredible thing to witness how they loved on this couple from afar. She's due to have her baby this week. And so we just want to encourage churches, be creative, do other things. This church is actually getting ready to host another baby shower for another one of our patients this month. Pastor Mason said, if any churches want to do this, it took us less than $200 to throw this baby shower. They're getting ready to do another baby shower for an abortion pill reversal client of ours. We actually did 2 abortion pill reversals here in the last week or two. And so we praise God for all those who come alongside of us and help us just love on these girls. Just be Christ, be the hands and feet to these ladies. It's a great opportunity to sow into lives and make an impact for his kingdom.
And if you are a pastor and you're listening to this, mark your calendars and start making announcements to your congregation for our next big event that's coming up in March. It's going to be our March for Life. And that's going to be That's going to mark our 18th or 19th one?
19th.
19th one.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to hit 20 years this year, folks. We're going to have a party in September.
Amen.
But we're out of time today. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for praying for us. If you haven't come down and visited us, please fit us into your schedule and come say hi and take a tour. And we look forward to serving Jesus with you this year. God bless you.
God bless.
Thanks for joining your Ambassadors for the Unborn on the Fight for Life radio, today and every Thursday on KKVV 1060 AM, the best news radio, the gospel airship.
If you'd like to support the cause of saving unborn babies, or if you have a question you'd like us to answer on the air, go to fcpsfriends.org or call us at 702-294-CARE. Again, that number is 702-294-2273.
On behalf of his little ones, thank you and God bless.
KKVV Las Vegas, K261ES Las Vegas.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. A police update is expected soon. There was a shooting this morning at Perry High School in Iowa. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. At least 2 people taken to the hospital in undetermined condition. No motive is known. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says North Korea is boosting its military relationship with Russia.
Our information indicates that the Democratic People's Republic of Korea recently provided Russia with ballistic missile launchers and several ballistic missiles. On the 30th of December, 2023, Russian forces launched at least one of these North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine.
U.S. intelligence officials also say Russia is seeking close-range ballistic missiles from Iran as Moscow struggles to replenish arms for its war with Ukraine. Also at srnnews.com, Donald Trump wants the special counsel in the election interference case held in contempt. White House correspondent Greg Cluxton with that report.
Lawyers for the former